Yeah, I made this. Okay, moving along, but yeah, I made this. How, you ask? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Unfortunately, if you want to make one yourself, you can't unless you want to pay a huge buyer's premium on eBay because, yeah. Anyways, I had a lot of fun making everyone's favorite chapter master that GW decided should no longer exist. I mean, we kind of all should have seen it coming because there hasn't really been any new Karkaradin's lore in a hot minute, but I still decided to make the Kitbash anyways because Tyberos is really cool. But I figured I should explain how I made him since, you know, this could be useful for Kitbashes in general, even though I have no surviving footage of me making the Kitbash. So I'm gonna have to use a lot of work in progress photos I took as an example because Twitch isn't as great as YouTube for archiving footage. Stream both, by the way. So if you're expecting a video where I show you all the steps, I'm really sorry. Also because this took me over 60 hours just to do the Kitbash, and I don't think my hard drive would be big enough for that much 4K footage. But it all started last year when I really wanted a cool model to paint. And then I remembered in the back of my head that Tyberos was a cool character in lore. So I wondered if he had a miniature. So I wondered if I could make a cooler Tyberos, and then I saw this bad boy by Siege Studio. And let's just say it got the brain cell working. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are saying, well, why didn't you just get a third-party Tyberos like Major Kill Shark Daddy? Yeah, it doesn't exactly look that great. But I do have Atlan Forge's Void Lord Tanaroga, and I'm also probably planning on getting the Tortuga Bay mini sometime soon. Emphasis on soon. Well, after seeing that video by Siege Studio, I studied it very meticulously. And I mean really meticulously. I stared at this screen for over 5 hours just to figure out all the parts and techniques they used meticulously. That I then came to the conclusion that
I can see!
I can fight!
So I did, and my god, there was so much sanding involved in it that I'm sure I could have molded a Nurgling from it. I mean, just look at this initial mock-up right here and compare him to a Abaddon. My god, he looks nothing like everyone's favorite Saturday cartoon villain with all his chaosy stuff gone. But the kits and parts that I used were, for the base of the model, I of course used Abaddon, or Abaddon, however the hell you want to pronounce it. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. I also obviously used the Forge World Tyberos kit for the helmet and arms, since it's a huge pain to kitbash Hunger and Slake without this kit. Rip anyone's wallet if they want to do it themselves now. Various Citadel skulls to be hanging from his waist. For the chest piece, I used a small skull from some kit. I'm not sure which one, I don't really remember. I think it might be an extra chest shield from the old Deathwing Command Squad, I'm not really sure. The lightning bolts were from the Spartan Tank Aquila. The teeth were just some extra Horus Heresy Tac Marine bayonets I cut up to look like shark teeth because I did not want to glue all those bayonets on my Tac Marines. Then the chains were some jewelry chain I got from Michaels. Here's a photo of it because I unfortunately lost that chain in the cross-country move like a lot of other things I still can't find. The bonding studs on everything but the helmet were made from various sizes of ball bearings I got off of Amazon, and sorry everyone, I don't remember what sizes I used. Aquarium tubing for the hoses, and then various parts were made with polystyrene sheets, milliput, and green stuff. So this was probably the first time I ever used green stuff, and also the first time I ever used milliput for sculpting something kind of complex, and good job me. The chest Aquila and belt buckle was a bit more difficult because I only had one extra Spartan Tank Aquila with lightning bolts, and if I f***ed up, I was pretty much shit out of luck. I also had to make a perfect circle along with cutting out many, and I mean many, rectangles and triangles out of polystyrene, and let's just say it was incredibly difficult to get them even. But the rectangles were easy. Triangles, not so much because of all the weird angles I had to do. To do the circles, I used an aluminum tube with an inside diameter of 4 or 5 millimeters. I honestly don't remember the diameter because I lost said tube when I moved across country. But after smashing the skull and the partially dry green stuff, I cut it out using said tube. Then the small belt buckle one, I just made a ball of green stuff and smashed it onto a flat surface, which really just means I pancaked a bunch of green stuff with a cap, and then when I got the one I liked, I glued it on. I also did have to bulk out the belt a bit with some polystyrene because if I didn't, it would look weird. Now, the part that was an absolute bitch to do, the bonding studs. So this was a lot of trial and error, emphasis on a lot of trial and error. So much so that I needed to buy extra bits on eBay because I thought milliput would fix all the screw ups, and it didn't. But a word of advice if you're going to do bonding studs on plastic models and you fuck up the alignment, sprue goo is your best friend to fix those happy little accidents. But just let it set for a day or two before you sand it flush and it's almost like you never messed up. Then the green stuff in milliput, I'm not really going to go into detail because that stuff is pretty self-explanatory because I mostly just made various wormy dealies and poked and prodded them until I got the result I liked for the green stuff. Milliput was mostly used to fix his butt cape, bulk out his back and arms, along with also multiple attempts to sculpt some trim on his torso, which after a few tries I got the result I wanted. Green stuff and milliput are honestly a skill you require, and I can't just explain it to you because you eventually understand how it works after much trial and error, emphasis on trial and error, because before I did this kit bash I only really knew how to use green stuff and milliput for gap filling, but not for advanced sculpting for armor trim and ropes. But this really helped me understand how to do it, so honestly if you want to learn how to use milliput and green stuff like I did, just experiment on some extra bits you have before you put it into practice on a expensive kit bash. But the best way to work with milliput and green stuff is to use silicone brushes like these and a little bit of water so it doesn't stick to your tools. Honestly, even cheap silicone brushes like the one I use will do just fine, and dental tools are kinda eh. And I never really use them because, like I said, silicone brushes work just fine. And that's my Tyberos the Redwake kit bash. I'm really happy with how he turned out, and if you want to know how I painted him, I also painted up Tyberos the Red Ripple, which is just his original model, because I figured I wanted to have them both because I knew he was eventually going to get retired since he was so old and goofy. And by the time I started working on my kit bash, there were already rumors of the new Terminators we have now, and yes, the kit bash Tyberos is larger than them, which is honestly a happy little coincidence since I used the TAC Marine to scale him appropriately to this photo that everyone uses to justify how big he is. And funnily enough, I think he's actually about the same size as the Lion and Rowboat Gorilla Man. I honestly also do think that this is one of my best paint jobs to date, or it's probably tied with the Lion. I'm sure those of you that also have some interest in Carcharodons would be delighted to know that I am working on a how to paint Carcharodons guide. And there you have it, Tyberos the Redwake appropriately scaled for the modern age of Warhammer. As always, thank you once again for watching this video. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel, simply leaving a comment and hitting the like and subscribe button helps more than you think. But becoming a channel member also helps too, since it allows you to make up bullshit excuses to my parents about why I now have 2 Tyberos kit bashes. Anyways, I have to go make more terrible financial decisions, so I will see you on the next video, and remember, being poor is a choice.